What is going on, guys? It is your boy Chaps, and happy new year to everyone returning to the channel. This is the first video back in 2021 for us, and yeah, we've rebranded. We are back simply just as Chaps. And I'm happy to be back. It's been a long 2 weeks since I last uploaded, but we're going to be back today. We're going to be reliving 2020 a little bit. I know, not the greatest topic of all time, but we're going to be reliving 2020. But we're going to be jumping into the 2020's top 5 worst games of the year. Now, this is all just personal opinion based on games I've played, and that we're just going to jump in and see what we're dealing with. So at number 5, we do have The Last of Us Part 2 now. Very big ambitious game when this did release, one of the biggest releases of E3 at the time. I feel that this game did have good intentions. It did have the studio did have good intentions for this to be as big as the first game, but I just think the bar was set way too high by the first game, and I just think this game just couldn't really live up to it in terms of keeping people interested, giving us something a bit different. The game didn't really give us anything that we hadn't seen before, and I think that's what's important about sequels, and that's the hardest thing about sequels at the same time, is giving people something they've not seen and working on making the first game even better, which I'm not sure this game necessarily did. The storyline was good, but it wasn't as interesting as everyone did think it was going to be. Very slow in my opinion. Probably not one of my favourite games of the year, I must say, which is why it's made it onto this list. But nevertheless, we move on, and we'll see what they have next for us in that sequel, if they do make a third one. But on to number 4, we have UFC 4, appropriately numbered. Now, UFC 4 didn't really give us anything different from its predecessor, UFC 3. A few game mechanic switch-ups, but other than that, really vague gameplay. It wasn't a lot of difference. The career mode's still very simple and boring. Nothing really out of the box. Like you see other games like NBA and Madden, for example. Those kind of games really take it outside the box and going in with these career modes. I mean, UFC tried in the beginning to signing up with the coaching team, etc., and working away from UFC to getting yourself to actual the UFC itself. I think they worked well in trying to do it, but it just wasn't a very good payoff. You spend a lot of time just training, a lot of it is training, and it's just not that fun when they make it such a pivotal part of the game. Like, I understand it's a pivotal part of real life, but you don't want to actually feel like you're a UFC fighter, and this makes you feel like you're a UFC fighter. You physically have to train. It's just very time consuming, and I just think it's not very competitive. I think it's a bit too easy for me as well. I'm not even very good at the game, as you guys can see on screen, but I play on the hardest difficulty on the career mode, and it's just nothing different for me. I just wish they'd make the career mode a little bit more interactive, a little bit more interesting than previous years. I know they scrapped the not the career mode, sorry, they scrapped the Ultimate Team, which was just a really poor feature. But they have made some improvements in terms of consistently adding new fighters and updating it regularly, which is something they've never really done in previous games before. But overall, not that impressive UFC 4. I was expecting a lot more. I really was, considering it's not an annual game, but nevertheless, I digress. And we jump into number 3, FIFA 21. I mean, we knew it was going to be here. It's just the same thing every year, repackaged, new kits, new players, and the thing with FIFA is it's very tricky because it always looks so colourful in the trailers. They always make it look, I think they spend more time trying to make the trailers look good, and they don't focus enough on the gameplay. I mean, the passing this year has been a lot better than previous years, but in terms of the career mode, they haven't done too much to change that, which in my opinion is one of the biggest features of the game. It's probably the most, apart from Ultimate Team, it's probably, other than that, it's the most played feature of the game. I feel that they haven't really done anything different with that. Volta is still pretty much the same process, etc. I would have liked them to have maybe taken a bit more time with the career mode, gone back to the days where they had a I can't remember the guy's name. They had that. They done basically the NBA NFL style where they center around one person and bring the story around them. Makes it feel a little bit more personal. But I feel like they just ditched that idea after a while and just kind of just gave up and didn't really care. But nevertheless, people will still buy FIFA, and they kind of bank on the idea that football fans, regardless, will still buy it. And I think that's what keeps it going, honestly. But for me, I think they need to improve in a lot of things, and they need to spend a lot less time worrying about the aesthetics of the game and just try and fix some of the bugs and features that linger in that game year after year. Honestly, it's quite tiring, to say the least, having to deal with all of these all the goddamn time. But nevertheless, into number 2. Oh, we have Marvel's Avengers. This game absolutely reeks. I can't lie to you. It was so boring. Like, I didn't actually complete this game. My brother had to complete it for me to even know what happens at the end. Such a boring game. It had a good idea. It had a good premise. The main character, you're following a character of Miss Marvel. She's just not very interesting. Very bland character. I kind of thought this was going to be an Ultimate Alliance type game where you would have all the characters from the beginning and just tackle bad guys essentially. But that's not the way it works. You kind of have to work your way through the game. It's one of those forward pushed games, not open world at all. Literally just forward, keep walking and just keep walking and defeating enemies, rinse and repeat as you unlock more characters. And obviously you start off with the less interesting characters, which doesn't keep me entertained because I don't want to play 10 hours of a game to unlock one of the best characters. I just don't have time for that. That's not really what I was looking for in this game. And it was quite disappointing considering Spider-Man was such a success and such a hit. I just thought this would have been a lot better. I understand it's not the same studio and not the same people doing it, but I just thought these guys would have seen the success of Spider-Man and just done something different with it. But very disappointed. The online as well, very boring. It's just not what it was advertised. I thought this game was going to be a lot better than it was, and I was just really disappointed. Boring storyline, boring characters. The fact that they made Marvel characters boring, it just winds me up, really. The gameplay is quite fun, but it's very repetitive. After a few hours of just doing the rinse and repeat, the same moves, the same enemies, it's just a lot. But now into number 1. You knew it, we all knew it. Cyberpunk 2077. I mean, if you haven't checked out my last video on this ghastly game, biggest letdown of the last couple of years. Bugs, crashes, just delay after delay after delay, unplayable game. When it comes down to it as well, once you get rid of the bugs and you get rid of all of the crap, it's still quite a boring base game. Very rinse and repeat. It's just nothing that we was promised, and easily the biggest disappointment of the year for me. I expected so much more from this game. As I've said in my previous video, this was just a stinker of the highest level, and I just wanted better for fans of this game. And yeah, they fixed some of the patches, but I think the damage is too gone now. I'm just lost interest completely in the game. I've not touched it in about 2 weeks, 3, could be up to 3 weeks now. I've just decided just let it sit there now, wait for my refund if that ever does come through, and see what happens. Unfortunately, I just think this game is ruined. Hopefully I think this game could age well. This game could redeem itself and could have a comeback. Who knows? But anytime soon, I'm not banking on it personally, because I think fans have just got this PTSD with playing the game. I just got PTSD that I'm constantly going to run into an error, or it's going to crash after 2 hours, and I'm going to just have to retrace my steps in terms of gameplay. It's just not ideal. It really, really isn't. But I digress. Regardless, hopefully this game can have a comeback, but will it? I just doubt it. But that is, for me, the worst game of 2020. I hope you guys will agree. But thank you guys all for watching the video. We'll be back next week with another banger. Peace.